This is a very, very important one. This is really snowballing into a big controversy. US President Donald Trump now has raised sharp questions about this $21 million USAID contribution that came into India for ostensibly voter turnout. Now, citing a disclosure by the Elon Musk-led DOGE, which a few days back had made that disclosure initially, Trump expressed outrage, questioning why the United States was funding India and its electoral process. To use the exact words that Mr. Trump used, India has a lot more money. So why are we funding them $21 million? Why are we giving them $21 million? So he followed that up with what he said was a big breakthrough. He said it seemed to him that there was an attempt to try and get someone else elected, someone other than Mr. Modi elected in India. These are Mr. Trump's words. Now, this comes a day after Elon Musk and the entity that he leads, DOGE, cancelled this $21 million funding that was intended for voter turnout in India. Predictably, this has sparked a huge furor here in India. Government sources have indicated that there are some social media accounts, some websites which have gotten deactivated in the last few days ever since these disclosures came to light, and the government will be probing as to why this has happened. Let's first listen in to Donald Trump and what he said, and then we'll break down where this funding has come, who has benefited from this funding, and whether or not there is a case to be made, politically speaking, as the BJP seems to be making, that there was foreign interference.
What do we need to spend $21 million for voter turnout in India? Well, $21 million, I guess they were trying to get somebody else elected. Well, we ought to tell the Indian government this is a total breakthrough.
So as the BJP is trying to put the Congress on the mat, a top BJP source has put forth some statistics to try and drive home the point about USAID and its connection to election interference. Now, top BJP sources claim that USAID funding has been linked to influencing political outcomes, particularly when it is election year. So under the UPA between 2004 and 2013, the Indian government received as much as $204 million, while NGOs received more than 2,000 million. That's the equivalent of a little over $2 billion. In the following 10 years, under NDA, under Mr. Modi's government, 2014 to 2024, the government funding from USAID dropped quite drastically. It came down from 200 million to just about $1.5 million. This was still 2015, after which the funding was stopped altogether. NGO funding, on the other hand, increased from 2,400 odd million to 2,579 million. That's about 2.5 billion. Now, the data that's been put forth by the BJP also shows that USAID allocation under a sector that is categorized as democracy, human rights, and governance, the funding between 2001 and 2004 was over $1 million annually. This funding initially reduced and then completely stopped between 2015 and 2019. However, since 2020, this funding has slowly been picking up, and it saw an exponential growth in 2022. BJP sources attribute that increase to the narrative that was being spun around democracy being in danger and a democratic backslide in India. In fact, they are even pointing to Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra and asking if the timing of the Yatra in 22-23 was a mere coincidence. So US President Donald Trump has flagged concerns over the Biden administration's decision to allocate as much as $21 million to India for voter turnout. This time, Mr. Trump has gone one step ahead and said this may have even been an attempt to influence the election outcome. Mr. Trump has suggested that the money was potentially used to influence the elections in India, adding that the US should address this with the Indian government. He even went on to call this a total breakthrough. Let's try and get some perspective on this. I'm now joined by Mr. Kanchan Gupta, a senior advisor to the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India. Thank you very much, Mr. Gupta, for speaking with us. So this entire controversy started off with the revelations put out by Mr. Elon Musk and his DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, that $21 million was given to India for increasing voter turnout. Can you tell our viewers whether the Government of India is investigating, has any information on who the recipients of this $20 million was here in India?
Well, any investigation that may be happening or any scrutiny that may be happening would not be in the public domain for obvious reasons. But what is of extreme concern is that The whole affair looks very iffy. There is greater voter turnout in India statistically than there is in America. So to try and promote democracy by increasing voter turnout, which was the cover that was used, is totally fallacious, and it doesn't hold up to scrutiny. What is of even greater concern is where exactly would this money have gone, to which entities and to which individuals. We have a fair idea who were the individuals who were being promoted before the 2024 general election. The US Embassy was advertising quote unquote workshops with some of these individuals to promote media understanding, media abilities, media skills. Now, these individuals, all of them are openly hostile to the government of India. They are openly hostile to the Modi government, and yet they were picked up for this purpose. The other thing which we know is that, and now that President Trump himself has said it, that the money was aimed at regime change, not only influencing the election or not only trying to get voters to come out, which was just a cover. It was aimed at changing the government which was in power, that is the Modi government. So the whole idea was to get this government out and get a new government in or another government in, and that is what is called a regime change. And that is the worst form of electoral interference, electoral intervention that can be done by any foreign entity, foreign agency, or foreign government.
But Mr. Gupta,
the US State Department, which is now seized of the matter, DOGE is looking into it. President Donald Trump has twice made a public mention of it. So it is now for them to clarify.
So Mr. Gupta, if I can take a broader view of this. So over the last 4 years, from 2020 to 2024, India received as much as $650 million from USAID. The total allocation over the last 20 years has been over 2.86 billion. But I want to specifically, in the calendar year 2024, USAID disbursed something like 150 million. Admittedly, a lot of this went into projects in health, in economic development, education, social service, etc. But there was 6.72 million that went for promoting democracy, human rights, and governance. And the Modi government has been saying, that there are Western media outlets, there is propaganda, trying to change opinion here in India, all through nefarious means. Why was this money then allowed to come to India, and to which entities was this money coming into? Why did it take DOGE and Mr. Trump to shine the light on this?
Well, look at it this way. Even in Washington, D.C., people were unaware of how money was being pumped out for questionable purposes. So it required a disruption by way of DOGE to come across these details. Now, what the American embassy does sitting out in Delhi, it's very difficult to monitor, to control, and definitely to try and sort of prevent it from happening. Now, I'm just giving an example. Now, supposing you have individual A sitting in any embassy in Delhi, handing out money or distributing money or running some sort of a covert operation, it becomes very difficult to track it on a 24/7 basis. It is of course known and found out from time to time, and then suitable action is taken. Now, don't forget that the Modi government has placed all NGOs under great scrutiny. Many of them have lost their FCRA status. That means they cannot receive foreign contributions, and so it is a work in progress. And I think a great amount of blockage has been done by way of government intervention. Amnesty International, which was running a racket in India, has had to virtually shut shop. We have the example, various such other examples. and it just happens. It happens when the government comes across details, comes across facts of abuse, then the government acts. Now, supposing there is USAID money which is going into a collaborative project on education or whatever.
Okay.
So that is not really a covert operation, and the purpose of that is not questionable in the to the extent that India is not an aid receiver, but some programs they collaborate because they want to feel nice about it. So which is fine.
Okay.
But there are various organizations which have been found out. Think tanks like Center for Policy Research has been stripped of its FCRA status. It was, I understand, CPR was a recipient of USAID money. So it's a big country, and the way the money would have been spread, it would take a lot of effort to check on the money trail, to confirm payments, and to act on it. But even there are organizations which allegedly promote democracy and human rights. They have been acted against. One of them, when the government acted against one of them, the then US government had objected to it. But government remains firm and acts on it.
So can I ask you as a closing question, Mr. Gupta? So this has obviously become political. Mr. Jairam Ramesh, the chief spokesperson of the Congress party, has tweeted this out a few hours ago, and I want your reaction to this. He says USAID is very much in the news these days. It was set up on the 3rd of November 1961. Claims being made by the US president are typically nonsensical, to say the least. Even so, the government of India should bring out a white paper at the earliest detailing USAID's support to both governmental and non-governmental institutions in India over the decades. Are you open to the idea of bringing out a white paper so that the people of India know who has been a beneficiary or who has been a recipient of this money?
Well, let me remind Mr. Jairam Ramesh, when Indira Gandhi was Prime Minister of India, almost every second day she would make a public statement how a particular foreign agency was trying to disrupt governance in India, how it was spying on the government of India, how it was posing problems for the government of India. And that agency I will not name over here, I need not name,
Sure.
and I'm sure Mr. Jairam Ramesh is aware of it and he knows which agency I'm referring to. Now, as far as USAID operating in this country since 1961 is concerned, nobody is denying the fact that the USAID has been around for a long time. Nobody is denying the fact that the USAID has been pumping money into regime change operations or electoral intervention. But these are details which are coming out now. These are details which are coming out of America, which is the origin point, which is the point of origin
All right.
for USAID. So what is Mr. Jairam Ramesh's gripe about? I couldn't quite understand. But what I do understand is that the Overseas Congress, of which Sam Pitroda is the head, they have had some brush with USAID. I also understand that some USAID was received by agencies or entities close to the Congress. So these are the questions which now will be looked at. The truth is bound to come out.
All right.
And there is absolutely no need for Mr. Jairam Ramesh to go into an overdrive on it. He knows as much as I know what is being talked about. And as for the government will definitely place details in the public domain once investigations and scrutiny is over. All the actions taken against think tanks which have been receiving money from USAID, those details are in the public domain.
All right.
So this is a government which believes in transparency, and it will be a transparent action whenever it happens.
As they say, sunlight is the best disinfectant. So hopefully sooner than later we'll have the information in the public domain as to who the recipients of this $21 million was from USAID to India for quote-unquote voter turnout. Thank you very much, Mr. Kanchan Gupta, for joining us.